Payment Ecosystem in Retail by The Wizard of Pause. Payment. Everybody loves to get paid. This is to explain the payment process in retail. Everybody's moving to electronic payments, and according to demographic analysis, the Gen Y and Gen Z population will probably never write a check, as they would do everything with a debit credit card embedded within their smartphones. So what are some of the common payment processing challenges? Well, understanding merchant fees can be confusing. Not all merchants provide level 3 processing for the business-to-business world. There's a lack of centralized reporting. Of course, the ability to process internationally is very important. Duplicate entry is time-consuming and error-prone if payment processing solutions are not integrated within your ERP e-commerce platform. I want to thank Pci Dss, the channel manager at Repay, for helping me put this video together. So we'll take a look at this through the payment integration lifecycle in the IVRA model, or Interactive Virtual Unified Retail model. Starts with the focusing the business strategy. Then you can define value streams in the business architecture to help you focus on what you need to execute that strategy. You can then further go down into the business processes that are required to perform those value streams. You then look at the people as to who performs these value streams that are identified in the business organization. You finally go to the how are they done in the technology defined in the enterprise architecture area. And finally, you want to measure your success. So your business intelligence is the feedback used to keep the business on track to satisfy that strategy. Fundamentally, what gets measured gets done. So let's start with the business focus. Know who you are and where you're going. This is your focus. Here are a sample of some of the strategic areas that are tied to the payment business strategies. Of course, one of the key ones is being able to optimize operations strategy. So when we look at potential sets of value streams that are applied to the payment value strategies, we want to be able to identify the ones that are optimizing the operations strategies, which might lead to a value stream focused on unified commerce or BOPUS, buy online, pick up in the store. So now let's look at the components of the payment ecosystem necessary to execute that value stream. So now let's look at the business processes that are tied to payment. Here's a sampling of some of the business processes in the model. One of the key components of the unified commerce is the BOPUS business process. In BOPUS, payment becomes very complex with a lot of moving parts. For example, you pay on the web, but you pick up in the store. So who gets the money? And how do you verify payment was successful? Oh, and what if they want to return it? Now it becomes really interesting. If buy online, pick up in store A and you return it to store B, who gets charged with the item that was sold and then returned and the money that went back to the customer? So now we have the processes. Let's look at some of the people who would be involved in executing these processes. Now you want to identify the areas in the organization critical to making payment work well. For example, is the janitor a key person in selling? Probably not directly. How about the person picking the stuff from the shelves? Yeah, probably so. If they don't pick the right items, then the customer won't be happy. So you have the processes and the people. Now you need a roadmap to focus the company and keep it on track. It's now time to execute. So it's time to execute. And this is where we get into the detailed technical stuff in the enterprise architecture area. And now we get to look at lots of pieces. All of these and more are actually necessary to sell the item, starting with unified commerce. That is, being able to sell no matter how the customer wishes. You have the POS, or point of sale, for collecting the money, and the point of sale or POS can be a website. You have unified POS for reading the customer's information or interfacing with the payment system. Unified POS is basically used for swiping the card and interacting with the payment world to verify the payment. The ODM, or operational data model, is used for storing separate steps along the purchase path. Pause log is one of the key pieces of glue that communicates with all of the various payment areas to verify the information gets there. And payment integration is for integrating with all the systems necessary to actually perform the payment, as you will see, and so on and so on. So let's take a look at the payment infrastructure. This is where things get really complicated because there are lots of people, as you would expect, with billions of transactions every day. They start with the POS payment terminal for reading the card information. This could be a website as well. They go to the merchant acquirers. They enable the acceptance and transmission of this electronic payment. They go through a gateway to allow routing of the payment information to the various merchant processors who are tied to various acquirers, and they provide authorization and data capture. And then eventually they end up with the issuer. These are the backbone of the electronic payment system, connecting and switching transactions between acquiring banks and issuing banks, enabling electronic payment, clearing and settlement. They manage loyalty programs, and finally they do the statement printing and mailing. We just got a glance at all of the systems involved. Now let's start looking at the payment timing, because now that things start getting complicated in just executing. So at the high level, there are three groups of systems that need to communicate effectively to purchase an item. There's the point of sale, POS, there's the point of interaction, and then there's the acquirer. These things get complicated with various actions that can be performed by each of the three systems, as they are not synchronized to a single clock. And even if they were, the problem expands. We have different stores in different time zones, or even in different countries. So when do you do a reconciliation between the three? How do you handle a cancel? Or when do you avoid a transaction versus giving somebody a refund? This is just a high-level overview. It gets even more complicated as you dig down into it. So now let's take a quick look at the payment fee structures. Basically, there are three structures. There's a flat rate structure, a tiered pricing structure, and an interchange plus structure. With the flat rate, there's just one flat percentage rate that's charged plus a transaction fee, and no other fees are related to that. With the tiered pricing, you've got three different levels. You've got a fully qualified pricing, you've got a mid-qualified pricing, and you've got a non-qualified rate. And there are some hard costs that are billed separately with each of those. Then you come to the interchange plus model. And here the merchant plays a true interchange and assessment fees. This is the most transparent pricing structure. You as the merchant will be charged the true rate for the card types taken. And these rates are set by Visa, MasterCard, Amex, and they are basically non-negotiable. So now that you've got the money, who receives them? It's not just all money goes to one place. So at the top you have the card issuers. The interchange fees and the international fees go to them, as well as the address verification system fee goes to them. Next you have the card brands. You have the assessment fees go to these people. The FAN, the fixed acquirer network fee, goes to them. NABU goes to them for the network access brand usage, and finally the network fees go to them. Then the third level is the ISO, the Independent Service Organization. And here's where you get the sales discount fees, the transaction authorization and batch fees, PCI compliance fees, support statement gateway fees, and whatever additional fees they can come up with. Because of fraud brought on by the internet, in the fall of 1999, Visa made the first attempt at creating a security standard with their Cardholder Information Security Program, or CISP. This eventually evolved into Pci Dss, or the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. So what is Pci Dss? Well, all member organizations that issue or acquire information from cards with the Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover logos are required to comply with a range of information security requirements. And where does it apply? It applies to organizations where cardholder data is stored, processed, or transmitted. pretty much the entire ecosystem. If your business accepts these credit or debit cards, you must meet the Pci Dss standard established by these groups. If you are not in compliant, you are putting your entire business at risk. So what happens if you do not comply with Pci Dss? Well, payment brands may, at their discretion, fine an acquiring bank up to $100,000 per month for PCI compliance violations. Banks will also most likely either terminate your relationship or increase transaction fees if your organization is not PCI compliant. The potential for lost revenue, customer losses, and overall negative impact of causing future earning losses. And finally, liability for lawsuits, insurance claim, canceled accounts, payment card issuer fines, and government fines. There's a pretty heavy burden for not being compliant. So the last step in the IVRM loop is feedback. In the feedback component, business intelligence is the key part. This is where you have a set of KPIs used to measure various parameters and provide that feedback back to make sure you are in compliance with the business strategy that you have defined to start with. In this case, we've got a set of payment and tendering KPIs. I want to thank REPAY Real-Time Electronic Payments for helping me put this video together. Please check them out at www.repay.com. In addition, I have also written a book called Art for Retail. In it, I explain how a lot of different things work together to make retail work. It's available at Amazon. Please enjoy. Contact me to help with your retail technology challenges. I am the Wizard of Pause. Help me get your online sales out the door without a hitch. I am Richard Halter. Contact me at richard.halter@cox.net. Thank you.